A lot of the star of the show play was stolen by Flyers and Spice using that Warwick and Weaver's wall out of the Talia. We're yet to see how these guys respond to that Talia pick so far, but Llama Man picking up the Orianna for his team. Vanier feeling very comfortable on that champion so far.
Yeah, and hopefully he can pull it together a little more this game. His shockwaves weren't always there, but he had a few decent ones as the game went on. And we'll see if they're looking to change up their comp that much, if it's just the one comfort pick, or if they're willing to rock the same thing over again. Oh, please no. Oh, thank goodness.
Wow, the snap last pick jinx for Sparks Plugs. These guys deliberating and really trying to figure out what they want to do with their comp, and you feel like that's something that you want to do between games, not during the champ select. You should be one step ahead, I think, in this champion select phase here. But what's this? Flyers picks up the Kane? He's ready to roll here on the new champion.
I like it. I like it. I like it. His pathing was great last game. You do have to path differently with Kane because of his wall thing. Don't really know his ability names yet.
I actually don't either, so I'm screwed here because I gotta play it, but we're gonna go with it.
We're just gonna go with Wall Ghost for now.
Yeah.
Gotta move up to things a little bit differently than you would otherwise, but I believe in him, and at the very least, I'm just excited to see someone playing Kane. He's pretty interesting to watch at the least. And yeah,
definitely a lot of interesting potential and options out of that champion. Last picks to round out the first set of picks here. Looking for GF picking up that Caitlyn in the bottom lane, and over on the side of Sparks Plugs, once again, getting that Gnar pickup. Actually, was it Gnar they had last game?
Llama Man was on the Jarvan. They're taking the Gnar away from SBO.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and Caitlyn Thresh, very strong bottom lane. So many ways to set up for the Caitlyn traps, whether it's pulling them in, flaying them in, or whether it's just the Caitlyn reactively putting them down. Gives you a lot of kill pressure in the first few levels, especially if you start throwing some extra skill points into the traps. Very threatening duo lane. But on the flip side, the late game team fights of Sparks Plugs already looking absolutely devastating.
Monstrous scaling for these guys available here, but let's take a look at the second round of bans coming out. Sparks Plugs not wanting to have to deal with Flyers on the Warwick, but he's already picked up the Kane. I don't think it's going to be Kane top lane. Kane's a pretty good jungler, so either way, they take away Flyers, Warwick, Lee Sin off the board for looking for GF, and then Sparks Plugs round out their ban phase, removing Spice's Talia out of the rotation.
Yeah, and it was one of the better things, as you brought up, and after our last game, his Talia was very clean. He had a lot of nice pickoffs with the seismic shove, and his Weaver's walls were brilliant. They were able to zone out team fights in great ways. He used them to get himself somewhere when he needed to. He understood how the ability worked and took advantage of it in a great way. I do really like the Lee Sin ban out of Sparks Plugs. While Saper Lipopet had some awkward moments, his Lee Sin mechanics at the very least looked good. So, you ban him off of the Lee Sin where his mechanics look strong, and you put him onto something he's less comfortable on, where he does not necessarily have the mechanics, and he'll still have these same awkward moments, most likely. He does get the Zac, though, still a power pick on this patch, but we'll see how he plays it out.
Yeah, once again, like you were saying, that Zac actually gives them a fantastic combo between Vanier and Saper Lipopet. So having that frontal engage and burst is fantastic for this team. That being said, if he's not comfortable with the champion, it can be a bit awkward. But going over to the side of looking for GF, Jojo picking up LeBlanc for Spice in the mid lane. So it seems like Spice loves that roam out of mid lane playstyle. He wants to affect his side lanes, he wants to get around the map, and he plays the champions that support it. So really curious to see how Spice handles this assassin out of mid.
Yes, do it. Do it. Come to the dark side of the support. Come to the side where you press one button through the laning phase and still win. Yes.
Yes. That being said, it does support their composition very well. They've got that hyperscaling on the Jinx, so there's no reason to not go for the Janna here. So it's a really solid pickup by them.
Yeah, you don't need more frontline, you don't need more CC, you've already got so much wombo, so much setup in your top side of the map. Just picking up another way to protect and buff your AD carry fills out the comp very nicely. Their team comp, come late game team fights, is disgusting. And they get there though. So many pick out tools on the side of looking for GF. They've got the Thresh, they've got the Camille, they've got the LeBlanc and the Kayn. So many ways to get themselves leads in the early mid game and transition it forward to clear out the game nice and quickly. Even if it does come to late game, they still have tools to keep themselves alive. The Caitlyn, not as strong post-nerfs in the late game, still nonetheless being a phenomenal late game teamfighting AD carry, and at the very least having traps for phenomenal zoning, siege control, and objective control.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is it's a battle of the early game versus the late game. With the Camille, the Kayn, actually not the Kayn less, the Kayn less so. The Camille and the LeBlanc and the Caitlyn, all that dominance in the laning phase available to them. Looking for a GF definitely needs to make sure that Flyers once again gets that early game pressure into either the solo lanes or that bot lane duo, and then does not let off the gas. He's got to make sure that his team maintains a lead, because the second they slip off that scaling, Sparks Plug's late game hyperscaling does kick in, and it becomes very difficult to handle, especially without a heavy frontline tank.
Yeah, I really like what they've drafted for themselves too. Last game, they looked pretty awkward when trying to take the crucial fights to pull yourselves back into the game. With this composition, that's less necessary. You don't need to take comps. You can have a lot more of a passive approach, a lot more of a survivalist approach, where you're just looking to get farm, get experience, get more items, and the only plays you have to make are preventative plays so that you don't lose massive objectives and have a lead snowballed against you. With that said, if Flyers can look as good as he did last game, if SBO can look as good as he did last game, if Spice can look as good as he did last game, then it may not matter. They looked comfortable in their laning phases and how they played out the early game, and they snowballed it fairly well with the rest of their team. There were a few moments where they were somewhat overextended as a team, but they were able to simply outplay their opponents. If they can keep up that same style of play, then it should still be a good game for looking for GF. With all that said, if it does get to the late game, it will be a massive hill for them to overcome.
Yeah, but they definitely are on the champions that support that play style. SBO, very confident in this role. You saw him on Gnar last game, just completely pushing Llama Man out of the lane, sidestepping EQ combos on J4 very easily. He's very comfortable in the role, knows the matchups, and knows how to usher in ganks very well. He's not someone who gives away the positioning of his jungler immediately, and he knows when it's time to commit as well. So they've got a lot of champions that once they get 1 or 2 kills on them, they're very difficult to handle and can easily start going into 2v1s. So if they can get the gold on their solo laners, I expect SBO and Spice to absolutely take over the game fairly early on.
And while they do have these champions that are very, very volatile and have these good early games, they're into champions that nullify good early games a lot. Gnar, usually a lane bully, he loses that slightly into Camille because of Camille's ability to hook shot onto him for an engage, similar to the Irelia matchup with Gnar, but he's still a very safe early game champion. Same goes for Orianna. It's very difficult to do things against an Orianna in lane unless that Orianna is actively making large mistakes. So much pressure comes on to Flyers to make these plays to snowball his solo lanes and keep his bot lane just surviving and not dying to the jinx. If the bot lane of looking for GF starts dying, there will be massive issues as they come into the mid and late game.
For them, but with the game that they showed last match, I expect them to have some control. That being said, I'm definitely looking for the Sparks Plugs resurgence here, man. These guys are 0-5 in the league. I want to see the underdog story come to life and see these guys just absolutely overcome their current situation and make a name for themselves in the league here. But that being said, I barely even saw that loading screen, man. This is why I talked right through that thing now, because it's unreal.
That was crazy. Yeah, sometimes I see the 15-minute load screens. This one just going, nah, psych.
Yeah, exactly.
Gone in 2 seconds. That was obscene. And I expected that there would be a trade-off where we'd be looking at the kind of grayed out spot in game for a few seconds there, but no, that only lasts maybe 7 or so. Still being relatively short-lived.
Yeah, man.
Good to see.
It's fantastic for the game, though, because you already have to sit through a huge shit. Oh, my goodness. The Star Guardian synergy here on Sparks Plugs, man. They may not win all their matches, but you know what?
They know
got
it's
this.
good.
They got the Skinergy going on, and I love it, man.
Oh, Skinergy. That's a term I haven't heard in a long, long time. Oh, boy, you're bringing me back to my youth there.
But it looks like Sparks Plugs maybe looking for a little cheeky play. They used this as a defensive deterrent the last time. I mean, there was no vision, so the enemy team didn't know it was occurring, but they definitely like to stack up here and try to catch people out who are going for invades. Still, no movement into the enemy jungler. They're not going for any information on their opponent.
They do have vision of Spice, but no real pick tools available to them right now. Especially Saper Lipopet already has skilled up his W, the Unstable Matter. Llama Man just goes for a little bit of poke. Nothing really coming of that.
Yeah, Saper really doesn't want to do anything outside of start that W. Huge ability for Zac in the jungle if you want to clear efficiently. And the risk associated with taking like an Elastic Slingshot or a stretching strike, just not really worth it if you don't have the follow-up CC on someone else. So nothing to be expected for any early engages here, but both junglers once again starting on the bottom side, strong side with their AD carry and support, looking to once again influence that top lane, try to get SBO or Llama Man ahead of the other, because once you do, it becomes a very volatile lane.
Interesting. Going with the Super Leash onto Flyers. Vice helps him get the Mini Raptors. Only the Mini Raptors. Kane will hit level 2 off of that, and then the Caitlyn Thresh set him up to quickly get the red buff. An interesting path that gives you a lot of early game options, but he goes back and opts to clear out the big Raptor, losing a lot of that tempo that clear gains. Bit of an odd decision, but still comes up with a slight time golden experience lead over Saper Lipopet.
Yeah, definitely. And that doing the small Raptors first gives you such a huge XP advantage, like you were saying. It's definitely beneficial here. Saper Lipopet just going ahead and clearing out his red buff, expecting that Flyers is trying to get to this top lane as fast as possible, as well as bottom lane. JoJo just putting down the pressure on Supporter Feed and Deadpool Gambit. These guys just getting completely pushed back with these Caitlyn headshots and auto attacks.
Yeah, and Mr. J Jax, or Mr. Jax, pardon, takes the ancient coin this game. He listened to me, but jokes aside, I expect that this will be him taking that, going into the Talisman, trying to accelerate the mid game with the LeBlanc and the Camille and the Kayn. Last game, opting base of the mountain, gives him a bit more tankiness and ability to protect the Sivir. That was what he prioritized. Now he's leaving JoJo on his own a bit more and is going to focus on accelerating his solo laners.
Yep, and as you can see, Mr. Jajax once again just very comfortable on this Thresh pick. A hook had gone down onto Deadpool Gambit, and they're putting down continual pressure onto these guys. Deadpool Gambit starting off with that Doran shield, which got nerfed, and trying to just maintain control here. Top lane, Llama Man chunking down SBO very low under turret. It looks like Llama Man's going to draw turret aggro as he tries to finish off the kill on SBO, and ends up giving up first blood to Flyers, who makes a return gank on the lane.
Llama Man, he almost gets away with it, but Flyers comes through. He knows when he's needed. He had the slow path lurching up towards top lane the entire time. Gnar pushes in a little bit too far. He's able to ghost walk through the wall onto him very quickly. Now Saper Lipopet, he's looking for something onto bot lane. They do see him.
Oh, Flay actually misses there. The flash away from JoJo to stop the knockup from occurring. Saper Lipopet happy with getting that flash, but would have liked to probably get a little bit more there.
Yeah, not ideal with what you're looking for, but especially when your bot lane's this pressured, you take what you can get a little bit. And on the subject of bot lane pressure, that is absolutely another reason to take the coin over the Relic Shield. The Relic Shield is a lot safer when you're not sure how the lane is going to go and you'll expect it to be more even, but when you have this Caitlyn Thresh into the Jinx Janna, you expect to be shoved in a little bit more. You expect it to always be safe to go for the coins, rather than having the risk of beginning to lose the lane and getting shoved out.
Mid lane trade from Spice onto Vanair, but Vanair looked like he came out ahead there. Hook actually in the river. It looks like Saper Lipopet coming in to just reevaluate this, try to even this fight up a little bit more. JoJo 1v1 against Deadpool Gambit on the side of this entire altercation here. But it looks like the entire thing will dissolve after supporter feed managed to flash over the wall. Mid lane chain onto Vanier. It still has both summoner spells available, so not really under threat of dying right now, but Spice definitely going even in these trades and holding on to a last hit lead.
Yeah, Mr. Jax had a very clutch play there. Saber Lipopet, he had the slingshot charge in midair, about to get a two-man knockup that may not have swayed the fight entirely, but would have had a significant difference on the outcome. Mr. J. Jax, all confidence, whips that whip at them, and is able to quickly interrupt that and make it much more strongly in their favor.
Top lane, a little bit of trading between SBO and Llama Man. Llama Man actually looking very strong here.
Yeah. Yeah. There were a few moments there where the bot lane of looking for GF were not as pushed as I'd expect them to be in that matchup. Now they're coming into it a bit more, and there's things happening mid.
Yeah, it looks like Flyers once again with that Ghost Walk over the wall. Forces the flash out of Vanier. Chains do connect, but nothing to really find it afterwards.
Yeah, and Flyers, once again, grandly outplaying Saber Lipopet in terms of pathing. Not only is he up by a solid level, he's got much more farm. He's had 2 ganks, whereas Saber Lipopet has had 1 gank and 1 sort of awkward river skirmish. He's proving himself to be the better jungler in this game, as he did in the last.
Yep, Flyers definitely a focal point here for looking for GF mid lane. Spice with no mana left really doesn't want to leave the lane and head back to base just yet. Really basking in that CS advantage that he's managed to build up over the first 6 minutes, 7 minutes of the game here. So after this wave, maybe he'll end up going back. But 7-minute mark here in the game. Only a 1k gold lead for looking for GF. Definitely a bit of a difference compared to last game, where I think they were about 1.5, maybe 2k up at this point, and I think Flyers had already even soloed out a Infernal Drake too, so huge advantages. But here maybe a little bit
Llama
more
Man
for
looking
Spark's
good.
Plugs. Yes, Llama Man jumping in, even getting the increased attack speed from that bounce. Hextech ultimatum thrown down by SBO though, and he says, "Forget this. I'm just going to absolutely obliterate you here. You've got no ultimate available."
Flyers rolls up. He's not needed, and he'll just roam into the Zax's jungle as the red buffs respawning. Might look to fight a little. His mid laner's gone back. He can't risk that. But there should be some alarm bells going off for looking for GF. Fights like these are a step in the right direction, but they're on a timer.
Yep,
Nothing
TP
comes of that.
coming
Be able
in.
to put the Zac a little bit more behind. Frankly, though, your bot lane should be farther ahead. You have Caitlyn, Thresh, both of whom are solid in lane, Caitlyn being phenomenal in lane, versus Jinx, Janna, who are both very passive. I'll pass it back to you for this.
Yeah, Flyers coming in to try to clean up Saber Lipopet. Broken into pieces here, but it's a window for Vanner to do some damage. He gets jumped into and ends up dying to LeBlanc in the end of it. Saber Lipopet continuing the fight onto Spice, but Spice just has chains ready to roll.
SBO's here.
2 kills now for Spice, and Llama Man looking to see if he can do anything. SBO jumps in over the wall, able to find the last hit onto Llama Man, and that's 3 kills out of nowhere, out of the blue for looking for GF.
Yeah, and Spice looking phenomenal. When his abilities are off cooldown, he's spaced where he needs to be, and he's just landing in auto attacks. When you're going for the Gunblade build on LeBlanc, this is how you have to play out the fights. You gotta work them in where you can, and when the enemy team is especially so not focused on you, giving you all the time in the world, they were really trying to get Flyers there, then it needs to be something you're able to take advantage of. Nice hook.
Yeah, good hook down bottom lane. The trap doesn't quite connect, but supporter feed is going a little bit aggressive. Deadpool Gambit could have continued more shots, but ends up just stepping back and playing the fight out a little bit more defensive. JoJo taking a good chunk of damage, but definitely feel like Deadpool could have punished way harder there. Mid lane, triple chains come out. Are you kidding me? What is this champion, Riot? Anyway, Vanier just getting absolutely chunked out in the mid.
Commentator's curse is wrecking me so hard right now. Right as I say, they need to accelerate. They need to be farther ahead with their compositions. Fight after fight after fight after fight. Getting 4 kills right as I'm beginning to say that. Great dodge from SBO.
Oh my goodness. perfectly timed there, using that Hextech ultimatum to just completely dodge out of the Gnar ultimate. Bottom lane, Janna ultimate's been popped. They step onto some Caitlyn traps. Bottom lane, it looks like, oh my goodness, fantastic play out of Mr. Jax. Prevents the entirety of that knockup from Saper Lipopet, so just completely diffusing that gank. Saper sitting around on a ward. He thinks he can go in for a return. Wait, he's got the sweeper going on. Why didn't he? All right, well, never mind.
And then poor Saper. He flashes in. He was so ready. Gets flayed right out of it, and the Lantern saves his target. Such a tragic situation, but also something you have to account for as a jungler. And another gank going wide for Saper, with the way that he's taking too many straightforward ganks, where he's going in at these very conventional angles. You're playing Zac. You have access to one of the longest range initiation tools in the game, and you're going about it like you're a Maokai or a Gragas jungle. It's not how you want to approach these ganks, and it's biting him in the butt.
Definitely making it much more hard for him. Flyers entering in the jungle of Saper Lipopet, looking to see where his opponent is. Will not find anything, as Saper has already moved up to the top side of the map, and just trying to clear out these Krugs. Bottom lane, though, Flyers has his opponents cornered like just deer in headlights. These guys are trying to get out of the way. They end up getting off the road before they get trampled by the pressure of Flyers in the jungle.
Whew, yeah, and Flyers, right where he needs to be once again. He's been farming this whole time, taking good skirmishes here and there, shows up bot lane, burns a flash, and surprisingly doesn't get the turret, but he should be able to get the Windrake after this.
Yep, SBO just walking out of this fight up in the top lane, pings to retreat, come out of Llama Man, but Saper Lipopet just says, no, I want to continue the fight. I know I can do it. They just chooses his target. Look at this target selection here. No! If Orianna hadn't showed up there, they would have both definitely been dead. But instead, the Shockwave gets burned by Vanair, and he shows up just in time to save his allies.
Yeah, very well played from SBO, and Vanair being forced to go up top lane means that they are getting... SBO's team is getting so much in return. They might be able to get Janna here.
Yep, hook lands, and they do get the damage onto her as well. Mr. Jax to get the last hit there, but Flyers, once again, just exuding pressure wherever he can.
Yeah, SBO, he looked good in the first game. He looked like a solid top laner who knew his champion. Now he's looking fantastic.
Flyers in the mid lane now, once again forcing the flash out of Vanair immediately as Mr. Jax comes in with the roam as well.
Yeah, they're getting lots of great picks. They need to start transitioning this into turrets, and they need to start doing it quickly. Once they can get a few more turrets, they can open up the map and get even more picks at a much quicker pace. But for the time being, they're stuck to doing these weird, risky angles. And while it's working for them for now, it could start to come back and hit them where it hurts. And not many moves on the map to look for these turrets either.
Yep, top lane definitely maybe a target here, as SBO has shown his dominance against Llama Man, even in a 2v1 situation against Saper Lipopet. Lantern thrown out to try to fake Janna off of that ward. Hook does connect, but it's really a battle between JoJo and Deadpool Gambit in the lane, so neither can really commit directly. Top lane, Flyers comes in against Llama Man, will dash in for a bit more damage. Nard under turret, he will take quite a bit of a chunking, but the retreat is available thanks to SBO jumping off that wall and creating a bit of zone for him to operate in.
Yeah. Hopefully, SBO will be able to find the turret after that. Llama Man does have the teleport, though, but Flyers has the right idea. He sees the turret that is the lowest. He goes, gets a gank there, sets it up to be taken down, and he can repeat gank there very shortly. There's no more TP onto Gnar. He won't have that option to save his turret this time. We'll see how that plays out. Saper Lipopet, though, he's moving his way top lane. Gets spotted out.
Yep, ward coverage there. We'll see him, and the disengage will come through for SBO. Mid lane, Spice just trying to see if they can't get a little bit of additional damage onto Vanair, who has been stepping back and playing pretty defensive at this stage in the game, sitting down a bit of gold mid lane. It looks like Saber Lipopet's trying to come in to save the day. Looks like the knockup will actually kind of assist in bouncing them out of the shockwave, but Vanier a little bit just jumpy with that trigger finger on the Orianna ultimate. Looks like Spice is got to try to get a little creative on how to escape that one. Will not be able to find anything in time and will get taken down in the middle of Zach and Gnar.
Yeah, gets cornered off where he doesn't want to be, going a little bit aggressive, and not paying as much attention to his vision as he perhaps should have. And these question marks are coming up again. If, looking for GF, don't start pushing their lead further and further once more, then they will start to fall behind. They've got still a fair amount of time. The Orianna is starting to come online. The Jinx, though, is still a fair ways off, and the Gnar is set far enough behind that that's less of a risk for them. However, while these things are a ways out, it gets riskier and riskier the closer you get to it.
Top lane gank. It looks like Saber Lipopet trying to find out if he can get SBO. Good jump off the wall. Takes him out of range for the second half of the stretching strike. Top or bot lane. It looks like first brick goes to looking for GF, and Flyers comes in at the same time, jumps into supporter feed. He tries to read the flash, but supporter feed just holds onto his cunts and doesn't move an inch. Mid lane, it looks like we might have a kill here. Vanier goes down against Spice, and all across the board, looking for GF starts reacting and putting down the pressure again.
Yeah, and once again, as I start commenting, they start making the plays. The bottom lane shoves up. Now another fight breaks out, though.
Yeah, Saber Lipopet jumps in and actually connects with his Elastic Slingshot this time. Mr. Jack's very low. They do not want to give the reset to Deadpool Gambit because it puts the entirety of their composition under threat. It looks like Saber Lipopet is able to connect with more CC, makes the two kiss. He says, "You two kiss now." And now Deadpool Gambit walks away with yet another kill here. It looks like this might be a window for Sparks Plugs to get themselves back into the game.
Yeah, things are turning for them now. The Jinx has gotten a kill. She's got an assist. These will start to push her ahead. Caitlyn finishing the Infinity Edge. The Jinx sitting on almost 2k gold. Will Spice be able to clean her up here? It looks that way.
Yep, chains land, and so does the rest of the damage. Jesus. Ends up going down very easily there. And briefly, we saw Llama Man as well, finishing off SBO up in the top lane. So a little bit of breathing room outside of that kill on the bottom side for Sparks Plugs.
Yeah, and looking for GF, they have the right idea with these plays. Kane came in, they quickly take down the turret, they look for a fight afterwards, but they overextend once again, and this time, unlike the last game, Sparks Plugs properly executes their punish. Saber Lipopet gets a nice engage, they're barely able to take out one target, and Deadpool Gambit is able to use the Jinx buff to come in and take out one of the remaining two. It's starting to get very nice for Sparks Plugs. The Jinx is approaching 2 items. 3 items will really be where she starts to be a large threat. But it's coming there more and more quickly. Now there's a gank coming into the bot lane.
Yep, Saber Lipopet 1v1 against JoJo, but here comes Janna coming through as
Great
well
knockup
to assist. But look at the damage that is able to come through for JoJo as well. Flyers jumping into Saber Lipopet with that ultimate on the new champion here. Now it's up to supporter feed and Deadpool Gambit to try to defend the Zach. They're not able to do it at all, and he ends up going down to the hands of Mr. Jackson. I'm sorry, not Mr. Jax. Flyers and JoJo.
Yeah, and JoJo manages to hold on to his flash the entire time. Really having balls of steel there.
Yeah. Speaking of balls of steel, mid lane Vanier trying to go aggressive against Spice on that Orianna, but not able to find anything quite yet.
Yeah, looks like the Hextech ultimatum will come out. That tricky. Now Llama Man's coming in.
Yep, Llama Man over the wall gets a good Gnar, double stun there, but he's in the middle of 4. He does not want to be where he's at. They just absolutely... It looked like a scene in a cartoon where they just throw someone onto the ground and just start kicking them and taking their lunch money, man. That was not a good time for Llama Man.
Yeah, looking a bit like a reverse superhero scene where, you know, usually the trend is someone comes in and this guy's gang and they start to beat him up, but then the superhero goes, "Oh yeah, but I'm the big guy," and he, you know, starts smashing them all into walls. Now it opens with the one guy who thinks he's really big and smashes a bunch of people into a wall. And then it plays out like it does in real life, where there's 4 people against one guy who just turned back into a munchkin from being the Hulk, and they just, they throw him on the ground and they start having their way with him. Not what I meant. But now things This game's quickly approaching Clown Fiesta.
Yeah, it's getting pretty interesting. I thought it would be, but on the top side of the map here, Saper Lipopet trying to defend up that red buff. He does end up getting the last hit. No, he doesn't. Flyers gets it, walks through the wall, but it's actually the LeBlanc there. Spice picking up that last hit on Saper once again. That passive on Zach just not available right now, and we saw it last game. This is what Looking For GF loves to do. They like to get into the enemy jungle, start taking over the resources, and try to extend their lead that way.
Yeah, and they're very, very good at these invades, but they're less good at taking the objectives off of these leads they generate themselves. Their last game went on a little bit longer than it should have, and this game they're not doing as good of a job accelerating their lead as they could be. Game's not over yet, but it is getting really worrisome just based on how the compositions are trending.
Very true. Deadpool Gambit has not been shut down in this match, though he is sitting behind a pretty decent amount of gold with the global turrets as well as that farm deficit that he's sitting on. Roughly 30 farm down below JoJo. Jump in from Saper Lipopet trying to stop Mr. Jax from getting this ward control in his jungle. Hook actually connects onto Saper Lipopet. Jump over the wall from SBO. He is able to disengage just a little bit. Gets the kick there. Shockwave rips through the enemy team here as well, and Llama Man's trying to search for what he can do in this fight. He's not really looking to commit on anyone right now as the play looks to be resolved. Spice lands a chain onto him, but will not commit onto that chain as well as he's just a little bit too close to the enemy team. Hook over the wall, no committal once again.
Yeah, and a great little counter initiate from the Sparks clubs. They're plugs. They're able to salvage themselves a kill and keep the Jinx ball kind of moving to where it needs to go. Now, Caitlyn having finished 2 items, the Jinx will be able to match that on their back. The Ocean Drake goes through in favor of Looking For GF.
Yep. Chain onto Llama Man. They're trying to dump a bit of damage, but he's quite tanky at this stage in the game. SBO really the threat for Deadpool Gambit, and Deadpool says, "I'm sorry, supporter feed. You are dead, my friend. I will not be dropping any shots today. I will not risk my life because SBO is standing right there. You are just unfortunately perished. I've written you off."
Yeah, and meanwhile, Flyers distracting 4 people and almost taking out Veneer. Able to make that pick very easy for the rest of his team simply by changing the numbers game. Now Saper Lipopet might have bitten off a bit more than he can chew.
Did not want to go for this one. Wall walk for Flyers. He's just going to continue on to Deadpool Gambit. Hook actually connects. Knockup comes through. Double flay backwards as the wall comes down as well. The exhaust down into Deadpool Gambit means he can't do enough damage to hit up that reset and maybe escape the rest of the damage. Ends up going down and handing 2 more kills over to Looking For GF. Shockwave onto Caitlyn from Vanir. Finishes off JoJo, and now Spice is looking for the retribution kill. Exhaust comes out of supporter feed, but Llama Man TP's in. Connects with the Q and Meganar, but steps right into a hook from Mr. Jax. He's able to just kind of chortle his way out towards the turret. But anyway, these guys have finally resolved the play, and ends up just 2 kills here for Looking For GF and 1 on the side of Sparks Plug.
Yeah, Looking For GF, though, they have the wave mid lane, and they just opt to clear out the jungle. Not getting out of their plays what they need to beat a dead horse at this point, but it's tragic to watch.
Well, they're sitting on 2.5k gold each, roughly, so they probably want to spend that a little bit and then maybe make a Baron play, I'd assume. But either way, yeah, they can definitely accelerate this a little bit more because, as we said in the start of the game, Deadpool Gambit now is in 2-item mode. We are in code yellow, people. We're not in code red yet when the Jinx becomes just so difficult to get to and handle before you get crit down, especially with a Janna to support it, but they have to pick things up, otherwise they will get outscaled.
Yeah, it's getting risky. This next Baron play that Mr. Jax is setting up vision for will be so crucial. Looking For GF need to finish off this fight in order to close out the game and with it the series. If the Baron swings the other way, or if the team fight swings the other way, it becomes
chains from Spice.
Almost insurmountable.
Yep, James from Spice onto Saper Lipopet there. Once again, Saper is just having a hard time finding his proper positioning. He needs to be in a good spot to actually engage on the enemy team and try to set up a good Orianna Shockwave, but he's so far forward that he ends up getting caught out by this frontal CC that's available on Spice and Mr. Jack. So he's got to make sure he communicates with his team to set up this timing properly. Otherwise, they're never going to find a good engage.
It's also very important for both teams to try and find a fight when they're spiking. Both top laners are approaching the Titanic Hydra and the Frozen Mallet spike for Camille and Gnar respectively. Those will be important for how the team fight plays out.
Yep, over the wall goes Spice, looking for the burst damage onto supporter feed. They do find the kill there. Llama Man gets a two-man knockup over the wall, but he's going to go down. No, he jumps into Llama Man and will survive this fight thanks to the immense amount of spell vamp he gets out of his abilities here. Blocked from the ace in the hole onto Vanier to make sure he doesn't go down. Espio over the wall. I mean, it just manages to hold on to his life here. Flyers in the base, kind of tanking up for Spice. Vanier not really willing to get too close because of the amount of CC that's available here. They pop Saber Lipopet's passive as well, and then just walk all over him. They wipe him up with a ShamWow and said, "You're no problem whatsoever." It soaks up the moisture. Look at it go.
Who needs objectives when you can just find your opponents in bad spots and punish them with force for it? Now they can look to take the Baron if they choose it. They may also opt for a reset, which would be a very respectable option, given that their people are sitting from, with the exception of Espio, who just came off a back, their players are sitting on almost 2k gold each. One major criticism I have for support or feed is his itemization. He has not finished a full Sightstone upgrade, and on top of that, he's gone for the redemption, despite the nerfs, making the heal approaching negligible if you don't have any other healing buffing items.
Top side, it looks like Llama Man's walked into the wrong place at the wrong time. Will end up going down. Flashes into the brush trying to be cheeky, but he doesn't end up getting away with it. Flyers jumped into him there. Deadpool Gambit is able to get some decent shots off here. This actually might be the spot that Sparks Plugs need. Ultimate does not connect for the reset there, so Espio is able to walk out, but Flyers is the next target. He gets a two-man knockup. He's still alive in all of this. Flashes back out towards his team. He's able to escape this one and then pick off Saper Lipopet with the rest of his composition. Are you kidding me here? He survived all that mess? Anyway, Spice continues on into supporter feed. They're not able to pick up the kill thanks to the command protect, but over the wall goes Spice to get the last hit, and Flyers walks right into the enemy base. He says, "I don't need to get in with the normal conventional way. I'm Ghostman. I'll walk through the wall and I'll get into the base in my own way." Jesus, what is this champion? He healed so much in that fight.
Flyers is just demonstrating why Frost is the vastly preferred option for Kayn. He, in the last fight, he got down to 200 health, was able to get the Kayn ult, come out with half, and continue healing through the Rost passive. And in this fight, he's able to abuse it viciously to the point where he survives in a 1v4 situation for about 20 seconds until his team is able to show up and properly clean it up with an initiation. It's ridiculous to see, and he's playing it ridiculously well. Now they're looking to put the finishing touches on the game. Triple inhibitors in the favor of looking for GF.
Gnar ultimate coming out onto JoJo there, but not enough damage to finish it off. Deadpool Gambit will try to get these last hits in. Heal comes out, flashing away to create some distance. It looks like they're able to keep him alive a little bit longer, but Saper Lipopet is able to jump in with the elastic slingshot for the kill. Deadpool Gambit finally gets his second kill of the game at the 28-minute mark, and maybe that can help him scale back into this one. TP out of Spice, he's like, I'm willing to burn this this cooldown to get this blue buff. I want blue. I've already got a blue, but I want second blue.
This is why supports hate AD carries. JoJo, he had the free passive lantern, chooses to take a very aggressive step in the other direction, ends up burning his flash, his heal, to try and get away. Mr. Jackson runs forward, puts up the box, and it wasn't enough to save him. Thankfully, their team is there to continue closing out the game.
Yep. And it looks like they're actually shifting their attention towards this Baron buff here, knowing that the enemy team is on the back foot for at least a couple of seconds. There's a lot of vision available for Sparks Plugs, though, so they do know that this is occurring. They don't have any jungler with Smite on the board, though, so very difficult for them to contest. Deadpool Gambit could potentially wild turtle here, though. with the Jinx ultimate. Redemption comes down.
Jinx ult is on cooldown.
Oh, never
Not
mind.
an option available to him.
I did not see that little line left over for their cooldown. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Needed
Only
to go,
just coming up now. Very unlucky.
Needed to go the Jinx cooldown build for that one.
Yeah, really underrated that one. I really wish we'd see more players picking up on lethality Jinx. It's sleeper OP, man.
That's the one.
And now they've got heaps and heaps of Baron minions marching in. One last team fight should be the last one.
Once again, Flyers jumps into the body of his opponent, takes out the kill from the inside. It was an inside job, they said. And the game closes out. Looking for a GF 2-0 against Sparks Plugs. No problem whatsoever for them. They walk away with an easy set for the day. 22 minutes for the first game, 30 minutes for the second, making the matchup look simple.
Yeah, the kill lead especially makes it look like it was a very clean game. But, looking for GF, not being the best at pushing their leads. They are phenomenal in terms of their mechanics and just pushing around their KDA, but they're not as great in knowing how to group around and siege a tower, especially when you have Caitlyn. That's a little bit worrisome, but not exactly surprising when you're coming in with a matchup of the two bottom-of-the-table teams. Looking for GF, they're able to salvage themselves a much-needed win in a fairly straightforward and one-sided fashion, despite the mistakes that we see. And it's really unfortunate for Sparks Plugs. They look lost.
Yeah, they look like they just have no direction in these matches. A real hard thing to overcome in these organized games, because unless you're getting together during the week to try to fix up that communication and come into the next set prepared, you're going to continue to suffer over and over again. You got to make sure that your guys are on the same page. Otherwise, you end up wasting a lot of time and opening up a lot of opportunities for all of your opponents.
Yeah, it's a problem that plagues very many teams, but the extent to which it plays the Sparks Plugs is frankly just unfortunate. It's really upsetting to see, and it must feel so frustrating for them to play out.
That being said, guys, that is the set for us today. Ascension eSports GG2 is going to go offline in just a second here, but I want to thank you guys for showing up for another cast by me and SuruStorm. Always a pleasure to cast with you, buddy.
You as well, mate.
But we'll see. Is GG1 still online? If so, go over there, guys. Give those guys some love. Make sure you watch those games, because these were pretty quick. These were pretty fast here. Now that I think about it, have I cast a three game set so far? I think they've all been 2-0s that I've cast for the most part. But either way, yeah.
Same for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually struggling to see if I can. I think they've all been 2-0s, like every single one that I've cast. But either way, guys, go head over to the main channel, twitch.tv /AEsports_GG. There's a lot of information there if you're a newcomer to the community. If you want to hit up the Reddit, the Discord, the TeamSpeak, what have you, you'll find everything you need to know over there, and enjoy the games if they're still going on. Once again, I've been Stretch, and this is SuruStorm. Suru, any closing thoughts for the day?
Enjoy the last weekend of July. Oh, shoot, it isn't even the last weekend of July. Yeah, never mind. I've got nothing to say clearly. I'll just go cry in the corner and woo!
Yeah, it is. You know what? I'll give that one to you. The next weekend, it doesn't really count. This is the true last weekend.
I appreciate the support.
Yeah, no problem, dude. But either way, guys, once again, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week for another set of Elder League games, and enjoy your Saturday. See you around.